Hi everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge and welcome to another recommendation video. This video that I'm doing right now was voted on and is being sponsored by some of my channel members. The Romantic Renegades and Faded Friends, they are the tiers that get to help me decide on which videos that I film. In 2022, I want to try to be better about putting polls up for them because I tried to do it once a month last year and I want to try to do it more, not just for videos, but for other things. But anyway, if you're interested in checking out channel memberships, you can check it down in the description below. Today, the theme for this recommendation is Possessive Heroes. So I have that along a few different lines, as you will see when I do this. I have a historical to share that I recently reread, as well as some contemporary, some aliens, and then most of them are dark romance because that's usually where we're finding the level of kind of toxic possessive heroes that I just eat it up, you know? Don't mind me just sipping some Diet Coke out of my Raylan mug, you know? No, don't ask questions. Don't ask questions. It's okay. Isn't it beautiful? Anyway, so, you know, I'll kind of tell you what level of possessiveness we're dealing with each hero. So like I said, I do have a historical on this list. I do have a historical on this list, so we're going to start with that one, and then we'll kind of go into this. So I wanted to share My American Duchess by Eloisa James. This is a book that I really, really love, and we actually just read it for Rake Appreciation Society in December. This was a reread for me. A couple years back, I made it. I've been reading Eloisa James since I was a teenager. I've shared this before, but there was like 5 or 6 of her books that were her newer ones that I hadn't read yet, or I hadn't finished. So I made it my goal a couple years back to finish all of her books, and this was one of those. This one's actually a standalone. It's not even like a standalone in a series, like it's just a standalone. It was meant to be a novella, and it turned into one of the biggest books she has. So some people would say there are some dull parts in this story, but if you're interested in the deep dive discussion that Crystal and I had, I will try to link the book club pick on that. But for me, I really did like the time that this book took to really dive into the characters, because there's a very interesting miscommunication that comes up, and I'm saying that in like the literal sense of what miscommunication is, that these two are kind of saying the same thing to each other, but in a language that neither one of them can understand the other. So it ends up being interesting. But anyway, the possessive hero in this one to me is the Duke of Trent. Jack is the American nickname that she gives her English Duke, and he has a twin brother, but he is the oldest twin, so he's the Duke. And his brother, Cedric, is going to be marrying Mary. And Mary, as in Merry Christmas, is how her name is spelled. And Mary has had 2 broken off betrothals before. She believes herself to fall in love very easily. And she's determined that now that her family, they are in England for the season, she's there with her aunt and uncle, she's determined that she is going to marry the 3rd person she's engaged to. And that ends up being Jack's twin brother, Cedric. And she's an heiress, and Cedric is after her money, like many men would be. And the way in which Trent and Mary end up together, Jack and Mary end up together, is just, it's so interesting to me. I love it so much. And I find him to be, they have this deep friendship that gets built between the two of them, and the way that Jack kind of just comes to covet her time and covet her affections. I saw him as very possessive, but in this, not in the completely unhealthy way. You know, this one isn't as intense as we're going to get with some of these other heroes, but I just wanted to share him. I feel like he was a pretty possessive hero in a historical book, and it's very sexy some of the way. This was a very sexy historical. I just want to say, like, you gotta wait for it. Like, it takes a while to get there, but once it's there, it's happening. It's happening. Okay, so now I have a couple alien romances to share for some possessive heroes. So the first ones I want to share, which I'm very sad I don't have these books yet. Amazon canceled my order the first time, and now it's taking forever to get it this second time. But, what is that? There's a squirrel running back and forth. That's happening. And that's the Spider's Mates trilogy by Tiffany Roberts, who are going to be / will have been on my channel recently. Not sure when this video is going to go up because I've pre-filmed quite a bit of things. But I absolutely love this trilogy. This is the spider one. But Cate he finds his fated mate in this delicate human who has crash landed on his planet, which is very dangerous, not really meant for humans to be there. And he knows she's his mate, but he has to gain her trust. This trilogy, they really are getting to know one another and coming to understand each other. There's obviously a language barrier in the beginning of this series, and it really starts as kind of a caretaking survival situation and grows into this relationship that we get to see grow through the 3 novels. And it is going to be my mission in 2022 to make sure so many people read this trilogy, because I know I've had people message me about it. I understand that spiders are not what you want to read about. You want to read the pretty blue aliens that are mostly humanoid but have a fancy dick and are furry maybe. But I'm telling you that, number one, if you're reading the Kindle version, you don't have to stare at what Cate looks like all the time. You can just kind of let it fade away. And when his penis is explained to you, you're going to be like, that sounds nice. That sounds like something that I would like. And then maybe he won't be so scary anymore. I'm just saying. I may have a thing for this Spider-Man, and I love him. So I absolutely love this trilogy. The trilogy is now complete. It is available on Kindle Unlimited, and you can have at it and enjoy. And then, you know, if spiders weren't enough, the other alien romance I would like to share with you is actually the Naga Brides, which are snake aliens. I know. I'm not usually the one with the weird romances. You know, that's usually In Love and Words who's going to take you there. But I was adventurous in 2021, and I discovered the Naga Brides, and I loved them. Now, I don't want to go into too much detail about the type of alien that they are, because it's kind of a spoiler in the series. There are 3 books out right now, and the author has said that these 3 books are the first arc in the book. So the first arc of the story is complete. We have the 3 women that we're introduced to in the beginning of the series. They are all mated by the 3 in here. But this first one starts out with Viper, and there are some humans that have come back to Earth after being gone for a very long time, and now they're at war with this other alien race, and so they decide to try going back to Earth, which is where our Nagas are. They are on Earth, but many years in the future, and things are very much changed. But you, as a modern reader reading these, you're going to see the few hints that are laid out about, you know, the type of world that was around you before. In some cases, it's pretty funny, because there's some situations where, like, the Nagas don't know that they're living in the ruins of, like, cities or things like that. So it's very interesting. But they have, like, fated mates, and these human women who have dropped there, they are their mates. And so there is this kind of argument in the beginning between the human men that the Nagas will either kill them to take the women, or they can just give the women over to them. Now, once they have the women, they want to do everything they can to take care of them. Like, that is their point. But they're also very fierce and like, woman, why don't you understand why I'm the best thing for you type of thing, you know? So it's very interesting. But, like, seriously, I love these 3. The 3 that are out so far is Viper, King Cobra, and Blue Coral. And I really loved all of them. Blue Coral was actually my favorite, because it was also like they're already interspecies relationships, but it was also like the heroine is black, and the way that the Naga describes her and how just obsessed he is with her beautiful skin and her hair. He's obsessed with her, And it's so beautiful. Like, I love it. Okay, so moving away from some of that, let's get into, well, let's do I have a contemporary series too that I wanted to share. And this is the one where, like, I have an explanation for why I put this hero as possessive. Because he is. He's just, you know, he's not alien spider possessive, but he is an alpha, and he is possessive of his woman. And that's going to be Grip from the Grip trilogy, which I'm kind of obsessed with. Still is in my top 3 romances of 2021. Absolutely loved it. But it all starts with Flow, which is the novella that explains when Grip and Bristol meet when they are youngins still, and just how Grip's kind of obsession and deep love of Bristol begins. And then, you know, we move ahead some in time, and we get to see them when their relationship is starting and when Bristol's being very frustrating and all of that. And then we get to see them in Still, which is their happily ever after, but the course of true love never did run smooth. So we are running through a lot of painful things for them, but it's very beautiful. So Grip is the kind of possessive where he knows that his woman can handle herself. Like, he knows the kind of woman that he's with and her strength. But damn if anyone tries to say anything about his woman, he will cut a fool, okay? He will cut a fool, all right? And there is a lot of hate that comes at their relationship, both from his family and from her family. And this is kind of a celebrity romance to a certain extent because he is a musician and rapper. And there is criticism from fans and from people in the industry and just everyone trying to stick their damn nose into their relationships. But that's not going to stop these two. And the way that Grip always tries to protect her, and even sometimes where, like, he knows that he maybe shouldn't, to the level that he does, he is just so fierce for his lady. And it is... he's a fine, fine man, and I just love it. So I'm putting him with my possessive heroes because he's not the kind of crazy we're about to get into, but he's the realistic kind of possessive where you would like that your man was like that. You know what I mean? It's not the toxic kind. He's not the toxic possessive. He's the, like, mine, like you're mine type of possessive, and I love that. Okay. So then I have Lucas from The Devil and I by Kay Alastor. This is a debut novel for Kay, and it's pretty short. It's basically novella length, just a little over 200 pages. And from here on out, most of these books have trigger warnings to know that. This one specifically has a suicide attempt in the beginning and thoughts of suicide, and then mentions of a previous rape. And some of it a bit graphically explained. So be kind to yourself. And also, our hero is a serial killer. Don't we just love that? Don't we just love that? And Lucas is actually a police officer. And on his vacations, which he takes a couple times a year, he will pick out a deviant who has gotten away from justice. You know, so either a other murderer who's murdering innocent people, a rapist, a pedophile, any of those things. I probably just said a bunch of words that are going to get this video flagged, so whew, there we go. But he is the do-gooder kind. Anyway, so he's about to go on one of these vacations to go to his cabin, and he comes across Raina, who is an assault survivor, and she is being taunted by her abuser, her rapist, and she has tried to end her life. And Lucas saves her. And because she was already planning to, you know, end her life, he's like, well, she won't mind if I just keep her. So he takes her to his cabin and he asks her who treated her this way and why she wanted to kill herself. And he goes about wanting to get justice for his woman. And also in certain ways, like, this is like very like caretaking at the same time, and very much like, I'm gonna make you take care of yourself. So there's that kind of possessive where, like, you tried to end your life. Now your life doesn't belong to you anymore. It belongs to me, and I'm going to make sure you live. And that has its own kind of beauty. You know, it has its own kind of beauty where he is ready to take on her evils for her so that she can feel safe. And during the time where she isn't mentally stable, he's like, I'm going to make sure that you're taken care of. This also has a plus size heroine, so that's fun. And he's obsessed with all she got going on. He love it. He love it. All right, real quick here, because I've talked about this book, Oodles, because it's been in a lot of favorites videos recently. We got Run, Posy, Run by Kate C. Wells. This is in my favorite books of the year. This is a psychopath. He is the money man for a mob. And in the beginning of this book, he makes a big fuck up. And he breaks up with his girlfriend, who he's about to propose to, whose name is Posy, because someone sent him a blackmail tape of a time from many years ago when she was having consensual sex with a boyfriend. And someone just messed with the date, saying that it was only a little while ago. And instead of listening to his girlfriend, who he supposedly cared about, he kicks her out. And Posy, who has kind of just always let men walk all over her, is like, fuck this. We're not doing this anymore. I'm going to take care of myself. I'm making it happen. And then Dario is like, oh no, I'm just kidding. I want you back. You can't actually leave me. I own you. And she's like, well, you kicked me out. So she becomes a cam girl to make money because he cuts her off completely. And so she starts sending him links to her cam sessions. And so now he's like paying her anyway. So anyway, eventually he gets her back. And we have to have some discussion about how this relationship is going to work and how it's not going to be the way that it was before if we're going to make it work. So this is a second chance romance. Very possessive hero. Another one who will burn the world down for you. But he is like definitely like neuroatypical as well. And it's very interesting how they work on that together. And I love how Posy gets a better type of self-respect, which I don't think she was expecting to have. So that's interesting to me. Then I got to share my boy Dean. It was very difficult to pick one of Sophie's heroes, but I know I had to pick one. And I would say a lot of them are possessive. I mean, of course, like, it's for real. But I would say Dean really, like, takes over a lot of Cate's life in this book. And he has some blackmail on her that he plans to hold over her head to get her to do things for him. And because she's like, are you going to string me along forever? And he's like, if you give me 1 month of total obedience, sexually and otherwise, I will let you go at the end. And he's like, you only have my word that I will, but that's the deal we'll make. And so they enter into this relationship together. And Dean is kind of dumbfounded that he's finding someone to care about and someone that he would do anything to protect. Now, that does not mean that he's not going to get in his own way quite a few times. But the way that he feels about Cate and the way that he thinks about her and the way that he, like, just can't breathe without her and he wants to make her happy. Like, this boy just, like, melts for his girl, but is also like, you're mine. And I want to mark you and make you know that you're mine. And I just love that. I love that so much. This one is The Sweetest Oblivion by Daniel Laurie. This is the first book in the Maid series. I would say that all of these heroes are very possessive and dark, but I wanted to mention this one because I remembered a scene in this book. And now, okay, a lot of people don't love this one. I'll just be honest. Not everyone loves this one. I love the series as a whole. And this book did get me sucked into Daniel Laurie's books because there's a scene in this where the hero is actually supposed to marry the heroine's sister. But he has a thing for her, and he doesn't think they're going to be together, but it's very clear that, like, he's obsessed with her. Like, he is. And there is a scene in this book which I just love because she doesn't belong to him yet. She doesn't belong to him yet. But he is, like, picking her up or something from something she did, and they stop at a gas station, and she goes in to use the bathroom, and the guy inside, like, feels her up because he's like, you have to buy something before we go to the bathroom. And she's like, fuck off. And he, like, feels her up. And the hero, Nicholas, he literally goes in and burns the place down because the guy felt her up. And I just love that so much. And then the way he goes about making sure that he gets her, I just really enjoyed. So I just wanted to throw this one in there. I haven't talked about this trilogy in a while, but I really love it. Well, it's not right now. There's 3 books. There will be another one. But I can't wait to read more of of Daniel Lorry's books. So I'm excited for more to come out in this series. Then I wanted to mention Savage Hearts by J.T. Geissinger. I could really put any of her books up for this, but I thought I would talk about the newest release. This one is about Riley and Malik, and he is sent to kill kind of her future brother-in-law, which she has never even met yet, but she goes to stay with her sister and her future brother-in-law, and Malik thinks that she's a prostitute that they've hired. And he wants to rescue her from this twisted couple that would take her to be their, to use her for sex or whatever. And she's like, when he tries to rescue her, she's like, "You crazy person, this is my sister." And so then he's like, "Well, I'm just going to take her." And so he ends up kidnapping her. And what says love like kidnapping? I just don't know. And yeah, I love this. I love all of these books in this series. But so then 2 more books to mention real quick. Number 1 is, the other one is Burn For Me by Sara Cate. This is a student teacher where it's college and the female is the professor. She's like 32 and the hero is her student. He's 18. It's her journalism class, and she is actually the journalist who broke the story and is the reason that his father is in prison. So there's all these layers going in. So it's a bit of a revenge plot. His life is kind of out of control because once his father went to prison, his mother actually killed himself, really like leaving him to the devices of his uncle, who was abusive and forced him to participate in some illegal activities. And so when he sees this woman who ruined his life teaching this class, he decides he wants to get revenge. And now the thing about this one that's also fascinating to me is that she could get out of this, right? She has resources where she could get out of this. Like, he gets some blackmail over her to force her compliance, but she could get out of it. She kind of enjoys the punishment and she feels guilty for what he's been through. So she's a bit of a willing slave to some degree, and slave is a strong word, but she's a bit willing to deal with whatever he gives. And watching him slowly, like, I love the kind of story where like he thinks he hates her, but when he sees her like flirting with like there's a coach who works at the school that she teaches at, he is like, "Don't let that guy touch you," like that kind of stuff. And I really liked it. So I really liked this one. And then the last one I wanted to mention, this one is very dark. This is called Wrong by Adelaide Forrest. This is taboo. This is a big age gap, and it's also best friend's daughter or daddy's best friend, where basically she was raised with him as her uncle, kind of. And recently he's started to be attracted to her, and so he's been trying to curb his darker urges, and recently she's been attracted to him as well. Now there ends up being a mix-up where he is going to be going on a date that is like a BDSM setup, where he's going to do like a rape fantasy for this woman who's not his niece person. They are not blood related. That's why I'm doing this. But the girl ends up, Everly, she's literally at the same coffee shop where he's supposed to be picking up his date. So he thinks that she's actually the one who's signed up for this kinky situation. So he kidnaps her, takes her to the club, and he rapes her. And it's only once it's over that he gets a text from the woman he's supposed to have raped. And she's like, "Why did you stand me up?" And he realizes that he shit the bed. But what does this hero decide? He's like, "You know what? This was meant to be. I've always wanted her anyway. And now I have her. So I'm just going to keep her. And I'm going to make her mine. And I'm going to see if I can get her pregnant too. It's going to be great. So, you know, we started at a bit lighter end of possessive, and we've ended up with like, oh, I've taken her virginity. She's my best friend's daughter, but I'm going to keep her. So there you go. We have run the gamut of possessive heroes. There we go. So there you go. I hope you like these recommendations. Please let me know your favorite possessive heroes down below. I definitely have bookshelves upon bookshelves full of these, but I just tried to narrow it down to some recent ones that I read. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you to my channel members for choosing this video and for sponsoring it. And I will see you guys next time. Bye.